Let's start over. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear and see me well. I'm very glad to see you at our today's meeting. We've pushed the meeting for 15 minutes, and we usually do that to make sure that our partners who are running late can join us later and on time. We now have 135 people in the room. Unfortunately, this delay or this pushing back somehow compensates for people who are coming late. Well, what can you do? Thank you very much for your feedback, for telling me that you are glad to see me. Me too. Someone says, I can't hear you. Where should I press? I guess it's about your gadgets. You have to find the correct button or boost up the volume. We had a break in our meetings. Let me try and explain you what the reason was for that. I'll tell you the procedure for our current and future meetings after the GTI company published the news regarding the high-speed transportation being singled out into a separate project or line of activity. We had 3 meetings dedicated to it, and almost 4. And if we go back and see how it all happened, at first we had the news, then we had a video from the founder of the technology, Dr. Isyp, and then we had the first meeting. And part of our partners took this news with understanding and a strategic approach in terms of business development and string transportation business development in general. And part of our clients, investors, and partners did not understand it or misinterpreted it. So I decided to dedicate a series of meetings to this topic to explain, to clarify this topic in as much detail as possible and to give exhaustive answers to the questions. And we had 3 multiplied by 2, almost 7 hours, in total. And then we had to have a final meeting where we were supposed to do the summary and take into account the context. I decided that it would be reasonable for us to sum up everything after we see the video published by the founder of the string transportation technology, Dr. Isyp himself, when he gives the exhaustive set of answers to all of the questions related to string transportation and high-speed transportation in particular. And after this video is published, I think only then we should finalize, sum everything up, let's say to put an exclamation point and then a period, full stop, to make sure that we cross all the T's. And we're going to have this 4th concluding meetings, I guess, in the second half of April, because I predicted that the second video dedicated to high-speed transportation by Dr. Isyp would be published somewhere early April, mid-April, and then we will finally sum up everything, and I hope all the questions related to it will finally go away, and there will be no questions left because everyone will get their answers. So this is what I said in our Telegram channel. I specifically recorded voice messages also to explain my decision. So what am I driving at here is for you to understand the entire context of all the questions and topics that we are have discussed, and today we haven't touched upon these issues to make sure that we have order in the chat so that you, dear participants, will understand the procedure of the meeting. We're not going to talk about high-speed transportation. We're going to take a break, and 1 month's break, while waiting for the video to be published by Dr. Unitsky. And then I, as the head of the fundraising platform, will give my final words on the topic as a summary of the 4 previous meetings. So, dear colleagues, is everyone clear about what we're going to do and how is it going to be? Although in the chat I saw that a lot of people did support my idea, but I would like to have the confirmation from you today in the chat live here during this meeting. So we have almost 150 people here. Someone says, yes, agree, yes, clear, everything is correct, let's do this way. Good, thank you very much. I hope that we are on the same page, we understand the context and everything going on, and now today we can have some preliminary discussion. Let me tell you about what. So I did announce that we would start getting ready for the transition to the Micron Global platform. And I would like to start a series of meetings dedicated to this topic about our updated crowd investing platform. And I would like today to repeat some of the basic points or explanations why we decided to follow the path of active investment crowdfunding or crowd investing, whatever floats your boat. And what I noticed is that because of the fact that the audience among our experienced investors into string transportation technology started showing some signs of life. I'm talking about people who were sleeping for around like 2 years. And because of this activization among investors against the background of the news about high-speed transportation, a lot of clients started being active again, started asking questions, writing to me in private. Some of them wrote messages in the chat, and many of them do not understand why we're going through this rebranding procedure and what the platform will look like and why is it happening and why we need it. So today I would like to end the next meeting to dedicate to this topic. Today I would like us to go through the basics, why we're doing the rebranding, why we are reworking the platform, why we will have Micron Global, and why we will have years and years of work ahead of us, and how it correlates to the development of the string transportation technology right now. So today's meeting will be an introductory meeting about the transition to the platform, and all the following meetings will serve to start gradually talking about the technicalities, the technical details, including the preparation for the promotion once the platform is launched. So today we're going to have a kickoff meeting, and a lot of partners already know some details that I'm going to cover today, but I'm sure for some people it will be completely new information. And I already noticed the trend that some people from the past are going back to being active again. So, dear friends, let's start from the basics. Does everyone remember why the decision was made to do the rebranding and what was the reason for that? I'm sure that many of you know the answer to this question, but I would like still to hear the answer from you today. And then I will give some detailed explanations from myself and some detailed argumentation. Friends, let's be more active like we used to be back in the old days. Let's be interactive. I would like to have some interactivity from you and to work together. Olga Alexander says, I'm talking about marketing, more effective marketing. Someone says our old marketing or compensation plan wasn't good enough. Someone says the old brand was discredited. Well, both comments, I accept them, yes. Those are one of the key reasons why we're doing what we're doing, why we're rebranding. Any other thoughts about it? Olga says there was a lot of negativity about Skyway. Well, it correlates to the comment about discredited old brand. Someone says haters in the system. Maya Yashkina gave a interesting comment that the time necessitates new decisions or solutions. And Gregory says, well, everything was eventually going to it or leading to it. Well, yes, all of your comments taken together mean that we are taking a new tactical decision. Someone says that we need a transition from the old to the new one. Someone says probably a better protection against hackers. Upgrading the back office and the features. Well, all of you guys, thank you very much for your feedback. All of you gave correct, in my opinion, answers and quite reasonable answers too. Let's start with the first one, the rebranding and the new name. So Taras has already asked a question. Dear colleagues, let's go through the format of our meeting today. Try not to interrupt the speaker, me in that case. Do not ask your counter questions. Usually I always allocate time at the end of our meeting for Q&A, so you will have a chance to ask your questions. So let's follow the pre-established procedure format or agenda. And I wouldn't want to disable the chat, and I would like us to be interactive. It is very important. And we have more than 10 people who gave their comments. So I see that our audience understands how the meeting goes, the flow of the meeting. So let's go back to the rebranding topic. We all know that more than 4 years ago, the group of companies that used to be called Skyway has changed its name to a new name to give tribute to the author of the technology, and now it's called Unitsky Transport, Unitsky Systems Technologies, or Unitsky String Technologies, UST. So that's the new correct name. Also, some people mentioned reputational issues. So back from 2014, quite a lot of incorrect steps have been taken by the active partners and investors who kind of discredited the Skyway brand with their own words, with their own hands. So what happened? Well, right now, what we're doing is we're reaping the fruit of that discreditation. People used to deliver incorrect information to potential clients based on the original 12 stages. But we also we always said that the original stages of development was the best case scenario for the implementation of the technology to make sure that the company would go to the market in 3 to 4 years. But we should have kept in mind that it was a best case scenario. It was the course, it was the plan. And our partners who had webinars and conference with hundreds of people attending them very often engaged in wishful thinking and told people what they wanted them to hear and not how things were, where the original idea was to create a industry forming project, completely ignoring all the obstacles and issues on the way. And there have always been obstacles. If we go back throughout the entire history of crowd investing and raising funds for the technology. So those colleagues kind of abused the information or misused the information and very often gave people incorrect information, promising them that in 2018 the capitalization of the project would happen, the company would launch an IPO and so on. So for me personally, as an investor, and I was a very active promoter of the technology and the investor who had a lot of different events held, I understood that it was a very large-scale process. It was not your typical startup project or a development investment proposal. I understood that it was a large-scale project, and I never said, and those of you who know me from back then, when I still cooperated with the Swig Fund, where I held huge events back then, not once did I say or promise any specific dates or gave any specific statements regarding the going into the market. What I always said is that the project that we're involved in goes forward for dozens of years and will take quite a lot of time. And our investments in the context of the entire project are micro investments, and all of us invested relatively small amounts. But if the technology capitalizes, goes into the market, small investments will become hefty investments, very sizable investments. And that's what Dr. Initsky said in the very beginning, that this business that we're creating right now can be bequeathed to our children, passed on as inheritance. And he understood what he was talking about. He understood the nature of the process, and he has understood the potential capitalization of the project. And he understood that this is something that you can pass on to future generations. And when I started getting involved in this project, I was 28 years old, 27 to 28 years old. And back then I understood that this is the project that you can be involved in your entire life. And it's been 11 years that I'm still involved and promoting this project and fully realize that there is no cap in terms of years on how many more time you can do it. And back then, different messages about the project were given by different opinion leaders, different network leaders, different promoters within our community who supported the string transportation technology. So right now, even after all these years, we're still reaping the fruit of all those of all that deformation. So some people who never visited their back office for 5-7 years don't know how to get there, don't know how to see their pre-IPO shares. And a lot of people registered, signed other people up without telling them what this technology was. They never gave them the information about the author of the technology. They never worked correctly with their potential clients, which bore certain reputational consequences. And it is because of that reason that the group of companies UST, the newly formed name, decided to move away from the old brand Skyway to be done with the old past. Also, some of our investors, without having any rights, probably with the best of intentions, offered this technology to be implemented in their own regions and addressed their local authorities. And by doing it, again, with the best of intentions, undermined the project. And it all reflected on the name of the technology and the marketing name of the technology. I mean, Skyway, that's how the project and technology was called back then. So our platform, RSW Systems, also contains the old name, the old brand, from which the parent company already moved away. That's why we decided to rebrand the project, rename the project, and for us to be able to move forward with more success, it was reasonable for us to update everything related to our marketing activities, including our activities as platform clients, starting from the features of the back office in its updating and all the way down to the compensation plan, which has been drastically changed and is now aimed at facilitating the work of our active platform clients who already know or would like to learn how to build large partnership networks, because it is this approach and method that allowed to implement the technology with success and help the technology raise funds. And now we can see the results of those efforts. The USD company now has two ready-to-use technological products, which is urban passenger and cargo transportation solutions, starting from the track structures, supports, and all the way down to different types of rolling stocks and everything related to it. And all of it, dear friends, was possible exclusively thanks to the investment crowdfunding and not the direct sales. Direct sales, which is the foundation of the RSW systems. And many of you remember that when it all started, it started with a very cool idea, and there was this website, RSW Systems, with a 5-level affiliate program. And that was the first wave of fundraising. And back then, a lot of people were impressed with the idea, with the scale and the prospects of the project. And back then, that 5-level marketing plan had sense because it was the beginning of it. And then two investment partners appeared, which is a crowdfunding platform, Swig. And then within a year, another platform popped up, SWC, which is the current name of it. And instead of using a 5-level marketing plan, they started using a marketing plan that allowed people who know how to build their networks, who know how to create big structures, sales structures across the entire world. And thanks to that model, everything was possible. So this first reason that I mentioned is the reputational aspects. And the second reason is the necessity to improve or improve upon the compensation plan in order to follow the general trend in sales. And in our area, multi-level marketing works the best and not the direct selling plan. So it's correlated. Yet many of our partners, our clients, had a question. Some people wrote those questions. Specifically, the collective letter sent by a group of people that we discussed during one of our previous meetings. A group of investors wrote up a letter saying that the marketing plans that SWC uses and with a slight hint that the Micron Global is going to have the same compensation plan. They said that quite a lot of percentage or quite a lot of fees, too much fees or too many fees are going to be paid to the depth of the structures. But those people do not understand that the total expenses will be the same, marketing expenses. They will be spread across more levels. That's the whole difference. So how many fees are now paid in our current marketing plan? What is the percentage of the fees paid within our current compensation plan? How much do sponsors or inviters get? In other words, what is the percentage allocated for marketing expenses? Anyone knows? Anyone? No one? Well, let's take the 30%, okay? For ease of calculation. So those 30% can be spread in different ways. Not 24, Sanika says. Definitely not 24. Okay, friends, I'm going to show it to you to make sure you know where it is, especially those of you who are not actively involved in our partnership program. So take a look. So right now, the marketing plan that we have essentially is intended or is designed to compensate people involved in direct selling. For example, when you invite a partner for them to become an investor, you as an agent invite a partner for them to make an investment, you get a commission fee 18%. From the second level, you get 6%. If the person you invited invites someone else, then you get a third level or line, 4%, and then 2% from the fourth line, and 1% from the fifth level. So 18 plus 6, 24, plus 4, 28, plus 2, 30, and plus 1 from the fifth line, it's 31%. Now, if we take the marketing plan or the compensation plan that we're going to have in the Micron Global platform, Yana says 15% from level 1. Not exactly. We added 3% later. At first, it was 15%. Now, for your personal invitations, you're going to get 18% currently. And now, let's take the same total amount of percentage, total amount of fees, but apply it to the marketing plan or compensation plan that we have in the Micron Global. Let's do it in our back office too. Because probably not all of you know where we have it. It's still in our old back office in the materials section. And we've had it for several months now. We have the new marketing compensation plan in Russian and English in here. So you click on view and you see it like this, or you can download it literally by clicking on the button download the
teal or azure color. And then you can download it and open it on your computer. So if you go and see the percentage, the total percentage paid as fees, let me find the correct slide, how much is paid to the network of affiliates. Okay, let's calculate together. 10 plus 5. So basically, this is the highest status, possible status. Then we will have also a presidential bonus. Let's take 15 levels. And then there is an infinity bonus also. And let's see how much we get from all 15 levels. 15, 18, 21, 23, 25, 27, 28. So 28% is the total percentage paid until the 8th level, after which the decimals start. So we 15 plus 3, 18, 21, 23, 27, 28. Here we have 29, then 29 and a half, and then we have around 30% at the highest level. And then we have an infinity bonus, which is goes as high as 1%. Again, in the updated marketing plan, we're going to have, instead of a total of 31%, we'll have 32, well, 33% tops, if we decide to round it up. In other words, in terms of expenses or total fees paid for if you want to calculate how much is allocated as expenditures, nothing changes. Whereas previously, 31% was paid as fees, total fees. Now it's going to be 32, 33 maximum. So the numbers are the same, but they can be distributed in different ways. You can distribute it across 5 levels, or you can do it across 15 levels, which affects the motivation. You feel the difference between being motivated to make personal sales and make sales across your entire team. And that's how the multi-level business is built. This is how the affiliate business is built. This is how the multi-level organizations or companies are built, and that's how they make their sales. So this, what works, really works, when you motivate leaders towards creating a lot of levels with a lot of people, incentivized people. So what I'm driving at here is that this model works, and it has already proven its efficiency, has been proving its efficiency for 11 years. And if we go and see how the SWC platform develops and see the total sales on our platform, you will see that the difference is quite huge, because according to our compensation plan, do not provide enough incentives for making sales, for building a network. So in other words, we are not spending more money. It will be the same amount of money spent as fees. We are not taking more money from GTI company compared to how it was how it was with the 5-level compensation plan. Same amount of money, different number of levels. So nothing changes. Only the amount of money active partners will be getting. This is what changes. So for you, it's a chance to lay the foundation for your many years of business, for long-standing business, because some people use it as their additional source of revenue. For some, it's a main source of income. For me, it's been the main source of income for 11 years now, my main line of business. It allows me to help the technology itself by raising funds, but also it helps me earn money from doing it, which is a legal, normal, adequate source of income. In other words, we support the technology by inviting new investors. We give people the opportunity to join the technology. And for us personally, we give them the opportunity to earn honest fees for the time spent on this business, on this process. And this is a normal thing. This is the normal pattern or system followed by many companies across the world, including insurance companies who work through brokers, through middlemen, through agents in the insurance business. So this is a normal model of operation. Next, friends, what else I wanted to emphasize in my introductory part or dedicated to the platform. As for the brand itself, why is it called Micron Global? Dear colleagues, please write your answers. Why do you think the platform is called Micron Global? And I would like to remind you, meanwhile, because probably some of you joined us after the meeting has started, I ask you not to ask your questions while I'm talking. We're going to have a Q&A section at the end of the meeting. This is A. B, colleagues, please do not forget that I asked you a question why the platform is going to be called Micron Global. We're talking about rebranding. So if you remember, please give me the answer in the chat. And Lana has asked me a question. Hello, when shares will be given and dividends on those shares? Lana, I'm not going to answer this question. It is a matter of principle for me now, because probably at every single meeting, at least until December 2024, practically every single meeting, you could have gotten the answer for your question. Just please go back and rewatch those videos, and you will get the answer to your question for sure. And also you can read the declaration of dividends on the website of the company, GTI. Now, in going back to my question, Gregory said that in simple terms, micro means small, global means big, and which means from small to big, from small to large. And let's see what kind of meaning we put into this name. Please share your thoughts, dear colleagues. And I see a comment in English. Just give me some time to have it translated for me. Said says everybody around the world, small or big investors, can be involved in this platform. Exactly, Said. So we have only 3 people who have any thoughts regarding this topic. I would like to hear more opinions from you. Big things are made of small things. Well, also, all of you had the correct message or the correct answer. When I was thinking how to name the platform, or what kind of a name to give to the platform for it to emphasize the entire philosophy of our activities, to emphasize the scale of our line of business, and to convey certain sense as well, so that people would immediately understand why or what they are dealing with. If we take a micron, it's one of the smallest measurement units. A micron is smaller than a millimeter, let alone centimeter. It's a 1,000th of a thousandth of a millimeter. It's not the smallest, but it's quite small. Svetlana gave a cool answer. In order to walk 1,000 miles, you need to make the first step. Correct, correct. Someone says that A drop by drop, you can break a stone. Nadira says, if elderly people knew how long it would take, they wouldn't take this risk. Why don't you give us the microphone? I would like to ask a question. But Nadira, I already explained the format of today's meeting. If you're not okay with the procedure and the format, you can always leave and not waste your time and not waste my and our colleagues' time. Because today we're discussing a completely different topic. We're talking about a completely different thing and not the one that you've raised right now. You know, they saying that a good beginning is a half business done, and we had a good beginning, and now you're ruining it. Then someone says from small to big. Someone gave another comment in English. Just give me a second. It is available to everyone across the world. I agree. We're all parts of something big. Said also wrote, it means from micro to macro. Correct, correct. Okay, good. All of your answers are correct to one degree or another. Now let's try and see what we're trying to create here and what we're helping to implement. Well, basically, Dr. Initsky and his team are creating, and we're helping their efforts with our fundraising efforts. So what is being created here is an entirely different sector, and we all started with small amounts. Some people invested like $50, someone $10, $100, someone $1,000, or even dozens of thousands of dollars. But still, in the investment world, it's still something small. And our philosophy symbolizes that every contribution, no matter how small or big it is an important contribution, because without that contribution, even if it's small, even if it's a micron, we would never be able to achieve something big. Without a micron, there is no centimeter. Without centimeter, there is no meter. Without meter, there is no kilometer. Like our partner said, that if you want to walk miles, you have to make small steps. And we follow exactly the same philosophy here. Without micro investments of a big number of people, we wouldn't be able to see what has been already achieved by the company. And I'm talking about ready to use, ready to go to the market products, two products, urban passenger and cargo transportation products, solutions. So Micron Global means from small to big. And here, I don't know how to better put it. And also crowd investing. Why is it called investment crowdfunding or crowd investing? It's the same principle. We're talking about a large number of people, a crowd, who join their efforts, financial efforts, to around one idea they liked. So they all chip in to create something big, something large, something global. And this is what Micron Global stands for. Maria says, together we are a force to be reckoned with. Correct. I fully agree. So the sheer number of people who believed Dr. Initsky represents a huge force for him, a huge source of inspiration for him. Dear colleagues, I'm sorry, I will deviate here. Nadira says, it's all clear, you've been talking about it for 10 years now. I would like to get the results or the return on my investments. So Nadira, I suggest you go to your upline or person who invited you and ask for your return on investments from them, because you're not going to get this answer today. And if you're not okay with that, you can always leave the meeting. Again, you see, colleagues, we agreed to discuss one topic and then some people decide and do what they want. Again, it is one of the reasons why we're doing reblending. Nadira says, I'm asking uncomfortable questions to you. They're not uncomfortable. I answered those questions in July or August 2024. I gave a very detailed clarification. A whole meeting was dedicated to the payment of dividends. And a couple of months ago, like 5 or 6 meetings ago, I had a dedicated meeting to how income is generated and from what sources the company is going to pay remuneration to their investors. And for some reason, you think that I'm obligated to answer the same questions again and again. But if I already did it, based on the documents published by the GTI company, and we're co-owners of that company, I already gave a lot of time to this particular issue. Just go to the YouTube channel and watch the recordings. So your questions are not uncomfortable or inconvenient. They're just out of place. They're not meant to be asked during our today's meeting. I already explained to 150 people what we're going to talk about today, and yet you are asking questions that you would like to hear answers to. Go to the website of GTI, read the declaration of dividends, see the recording of the Maxim Isyp's meeting, my meeting, dedicated specifically to the payout of remuneration, and you will hear all the answers. But you think that you are the most important person asking the most important question among all the 150 people we have here. For some reason, you think that your questions are more important than the actual topic of our today's meeting. If you think so, then please just pass by or walk away. This is not even disrespect towards me, because I'm thick-skinned and it's really very difficult to offend me, but be respectful to 142 people, other people here. There are no inconvenient, uncomfortable questions for me, because what I'm doing, what I'm promoting, the technology I'm promoting, and the technology implemented by the group of companies, they're doing it in a transparent way. Everything is on the table, and there are no inconvenient or uncomfortable questions for me. Sometimes the answers might be not to your liking, but this is something I can do nothing about. There is a very cool saying, your expectations are your own problems. You build your own expectations. So I personally am not living in a paradigm of illusion, because there is another, wise saying, in order not to be disillusioned, don't live by illusions. And if you believed a person who fed you misinformation and that what they said didn't match the reality, or you weren't ready to accept that reality, it is your problem, because what I'm dealing with is always facts. I always say things how they are. Again, colleagues, please be respectful and let's follow the agreement, and be respectful to other people who came to this meeting to hear what we planned to discuss. And we're talking about a meeting for people who are ready to keep promoting the technology on the updated platform. Now let's go back to what we were discussing. We're talking about the philosophy and the meaning of Micron Global. And in my opinion, this particular name very well emphasizes or embodies the whole essence of our activities. And this is why we're here, and this is why we have been doing this for 10 plus years. Let's try and recap what we've said so far, because we did have we did stray from the main topic. Vera says, do not pay attention to out-of-place questions. Well, Vera, thing is, when I focus on comments like this, what I want to understand is to trying to vaccinate myself against future such comments. For people who will be watching the recording of this meeting, we agreed before crossing the river what we're going to do. So let's not try and change horses midstream, right? We agreed on the topic, let's stick to the topic. But then people break that agreement thinking they are entitled to do so. And then, Ruslan says that you've vaccinated yourself already 20 times in 2 meetings. But, it happens. And dear colleagues, I'm sorry for deviating. I'm sorry to focusing too much attention to such people. But I'm doing it for your sake as well, in order to make sure that we have as few such incidents as possible in the future. Again, rebranding was necessitated, first of all, because of the reputational consequences that were caused by, let's say, people who fed misinformation to other people. Again, let me reiterate, we needed the rebranding because of the reputational consequences caused by the incorrect mode of operation by a large number of people who tried to promote the technology not always in an honest or correct way. Second of all, we needed to change our compensation plan, our marketing approach, to make sure people are able to build their business for many, many years ahead and give an opportunity to people to make completely different amount of money without solely focusing on personal sales, because personal sales would not be able, using personal sales wouldn't be able to raise enough money for the development of the information, of the innovation technology such as string technology. So we had to change the number of levels, the compensation plan. But again, remember, I emphasized that the total percentage of fees paid is the same. Well, give or take 1 or 2%, which is not critical. Again, we are not overpaying or underpaying. The same amount of percentage allocated in a different way. 30% allocated across more levels in a different way. So we're playing around with numbers here, where the result is the same. So it's still the same 30% allocated for marketing, but with a new compensation plan, now network leaders can build their careers for many, many years ahead. Well, and the third point that we discussed was the name of the platform, a very philosophical approach here. We touched upon the philosophy, and it's quite straightforward. It's from small to big. And if we go back and see the history of the 11-year history, we see that we all started with blueprints and sketches, and now the company has thousands of employees, dozens of thousands of square meters owned by the company, production facilities, machinery and plants. The company has 2 R&D centers in different continents. They are now starting a 3rd R&D center, modern R&D center. It's going to be a hub showcasing the entire sector of string technology, which is a direct proof that following the principle of the from small to big, we were able to create something global, which is a fact, and a fact everyone has to deal with. There is not a single case in the history of the crowd investing financing model anyone was able to create something similar. I did mention it once, but someone did say that, Maxim, don't tell lies. There are cases of something similar. I'm still agree to disagree, because in my opinion, there isn't a single case of such a large-scale sector-forming project being created using crowd investing. If you want to give me an example of one of the contemporaries, our contemporaries, it's a person who had achieved some success in creating their own innovations. The motor wheel was given as an example, a solar group, if I'm not mistaken, the name is. So look, friends, that project, I have nothing against that project, but if you remember, they fully copy-pasted the financing model implemented by Dr. Initsky. Well, Dr. Initsky is a genius of the modern times, not only in terms of innovations, but also in the marketing approach, business approach, investing, optimization of costs. He indeed has a genius mind. No matter what he starts doing, he does it better than anyone. And he showed to other scientists and inventors how you can implement your idea without the support of big investors and governments, just using the efforts of a large number of people. And the example that they gave me back then, telling me, Maxim, there are such projects, they're not comparable. A motor wheel project, for your understanding, the string company has more than 60 design bureaus, and there is a design bureau dedicated to the motor wheel using a different process, unlike the one used by the company that you gave an example. But it is just one design bureau, just one project out of dozens of projects necessary to create a string transportation technology. The scales here are very, very much different. They're just different universes, and a motor wheel compared to is just a small piece in an entire complex of string transportation, because you have track infrastructure, supports, overpasses, motor wheels, safety systems, control systems, etc., etc. So there is not a single project of such scale out there implemented using investment crowdfunding. And I know what I'm saying. And the examples that you're giving me simply beyond comparison. Different scales altogether. Kickstarter has hundreds and thousands of projects implemented, but the scales were different. Someone focused on just one single project. Oculus Rift, for example, they also were funded using crowdfunding, but they never got a stake in the company. They just got a pair of goggles and that's it. But if the investors received a stake, because later Facebook bought them out for a couple of billion of dollars, if they received a stake using investment crowdfunding and not just crowdfunding, the investors would be paid very handsomely and not just a pair of goggles. Whereas here, we get a stake in the company that we're investing in. So thanks to the investment crowdfunding, something that has never been achieved before has been achieved. Not in the CIS, post-Soviet area, not in Europe, not in America, or any other continent or corner of the world. Not a single case except this one. And I'm sure there won't be a single case. So what I'm saying here is that some of our investors, some of our partners, for some reason, think that if a company right now or is achieving its break-even point, self-sufficiency point, then they won't need to raise funds using crowd investing anymore. Truth be told, dear friends, it's a huge misconception. So there are many people who think that there is no point in rebranding and relaunching of the platform. There is no point in launching large-scale activities because the company has reached its break-even point. But this is a misconception. We need to understand one very important thing here related to, I don't know Whether this word is good, evolution. Probably evolution is not the right fit. How the technology is born and goes into the market. I need to use a word that would encompass the whole process of birth and going into the market. Let's take an example of how cattle is born. For example, when a calf is born, what do they look like? How they function in the first weeks? Let's take this example from nature, right? From the farming area or nature. And you will understand why I use that example, and you will understand why investment crowdfunding is still needed and will always be needed. Regardless of the fact that the company has reached or is reaching its break-even point. So how the split-hoof animals are born, the cattle is born. For example, how a stallion is born, a young horse, how zebras are born, or hippopotamuses born, or giraffes, for example. Kind of big animals, right? Elephants, doesn't matter. Mammals in general. So those of you who enjoy watching Discovery or National Geographic, I enjoy watching Discovery and National Geographic from time to time. Some people say that they get on their legs right away. They are already adapted. They get on their feet and start sucking milk. And others try to get firmer on their feet, on their legs. So let's remember, once an animal is born, it's disoriented and they're not very firm on their legs. They do not have quite a lot of strength to support their structure, to stand firm. And for that, they need their mother's support. They need their mother's milk. And then they need their parents to teach them how to walk, how to run. Ludmila says very tentative steps, right? They're not yet confident about walking. They fall down, then they get back again, and they start walking again. And the same happens with a human child. I'm not talking about a newly born child. I'm talking about a child when they start walking, toddlers. They get on their feet, they start walking, they fall. They make 2 more steps, they fall. Next time they walk, they walk 3 steps. And eventually they learn how to walk firmly and with confidence, right? So let's try and see what's happening in the development of the string transportation technology and in the development of the UST group of companies. And let's look at it as a standard business process, but without forgetting about the realities of the world. So please do not interfere here, do not interrupt me. I will try to draw you a general picture and will try to compare to other similar projects or other projects. So for 8 years, crowd investing has been given the opportunity to the technology to be born. If we're continuing the metaphor, the comparison of the animal world. So for 8 years, we've been giving nutrients to the group of companies UST for it to create and implement the string transportation technology. And not so long ago, a couple of years ago, the main complexes were certified that allowed the company to offer the market specific proposals, specific solutions to the customers. And that birth happened not so long ago. Those 2 ready-to-use commercial products, urban and passenger and cargo transportation, were born not so long ago. And all that time we're feeding that brainchild. By feeding, I mean raising funds, by personally investing and inviting other investors. So what's happening right now is the company, the technology, let's say the technology in general, because it's not just one company, it's a group of companies interrelated with their respective line of businesses. There's a production, there is marketing, there is designing, etc. So the company has just been born and going to the market, but is not yet standing on firm legs yet, feet, if you will. So we are a big threat to other competitors in the transportation sector. And a lot of other players may perceive us as competitors, although Dr. Unitsky do not market its technology as a competitor to railway or other types of transportation. We are a supplementary technology to already existing transportation solutions. We can be a supplement to railway stations. We can be a supplement to airports, airplanes, other transportation. Someone might take a taxi, a train to the airport, a car, and someone might be using a new type of transportation, a string transportation, but other players might perceive us as competitors. And now, knowing that on a regular basis, big number of countries are showing interest in the string transportation technology, a big number of customers are showing interest, and a big number has already paid for the design work. However, at the current stage, and this is my personal opinion, this is my personal metaphor, I personally think that the technology is still at the stage of this small calf or small horse that is not yet firm on its legs, or due to a huge number of external factors that might undermine the project in different countries or in a given country. Friends, we need to be realistic about what kind of sector we've invested or area. We've invested into innovations in transportation. And now tell me, what is the most corrupted area or sphere in any country's economy? What is the most corrupted sector, or one of the most corrupted sectors in any country? My assess transportation sector, yes, along with the pharmaceuticals, and I guess pharmaceuticals and transportation. What else is there? That's the two main sectors I would single out. All others are more or less more transparent, I guess. So what I'm driving at here is that the transportation in sector in any country is the most corrupted. It's the dirtiest, I guess, and the foul play is showed not only by the private companies but by the government too. Here's a very good example from the history of the string transportation created by Dr. Unitsky. Let's remember the year 2021 when the first testing complex was funded by Mr. Lebed. So it was built. It was 2001, sorry. And then in 2008, the technology was presented at the highest level. And the president gave a positive feedback on the project. But after this presentation was over, under the governmental council meeting ended, the person who presented the technology back then was approached by a group of high-ranking officials responsible for transportation. I'm not going to give you names or specific organizations. And that person was told by that group of officials, What are you getting yourself involved in? And I'm putting it very mildly, because the actual language used was way harsher. So what I'm saying here is that, look, the project was presented to the president of the country. The president was positively impressed, but the high-ranking officials immediately put up the wall, and Dr. Nitsky had to leave the country. And then Dr. Nitsky tried to implement the same project in Australia, had to change jurisdiction. So going back to our original example, once the birth happened, and we have this young child, which is still exposed to a lot of different external factors, making it difficult for the child to stand firm on their feet. And if we draw comparisons to real sectoral economy and to real infrastructural projects, so why I'm giving this example and why I'm saying that it is still difficult for the company to stand firm on its feet is that even if now the company has 10, 20 projects in the pipeline, and during my meetings, I mentioned it mentioned it several times, that it's not a given fact that those projects will be brought to the end, because the sector that we are involved in is the most corrupted sector. And there might be someone who would like to put sticks in the wheels here. So someone says, for example, in one city, they built a 3-kilometer cable road. Why weren't we involved in the tender, in the biddings? And my answer is because, again, a high level of corruption, and because of the lobbying of interest from the companies who have been firm on their feet for dozens of years and do not want to share their pie with other players. So if we take the commercial aspect of it, we need, as a company, to launch and implement the first, even pilot projects. But those projects need to be implemented. They should not be even large scale, but they should be economically feasible to make sure that the technology is viable not only technologically, but also economically, that it's cost effective. And until this process becomes widespread, one project in this country, another project in another country. So until this happens, and this is my personal opinion, you can accept it or reject it. Probably Dr. Nitsky himself has a different opinion, or he might share my opinion, but I think until such time when the technology reaches that confident implementation of one project after another and start implementing the technology, then the company can say that it's standing firmly on its feet. And for the company to be able to stand firmly on its feet in parallel with having 2 ready-to-use commercial products for sale, the company in parallel needs still funds to fund its engineering activities to improve what they already created. And the money for the improvement and betterment of passenger and cargo transportation will come from the crowd investment or investment crowdfunding. And that money, the money that will be raised through that financial model, will be either targeted or earmarked for in the improvement of what already has been created. And when people say that the company has achieved its break-even point, its self-sufficiency point, and it doesn't need any extra funding, no, far from being it. We need to expand our investment crowdfunding or investment crowd investing or crowd investing to be as a backup investing or funding, because we never know how the geopolitical situation might develop in a region where the country is already present. Very often, administration of a country changes. The geopolitical mood changes in Europe too. And to rely 100% on the company taking off, we shouldn't do that. We should be realistic about external factors and unforeseen circumstances. And I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. And I've realized that investment crowdfunding is the path or is the model to make sure that the company stays on its course. So I would like you to also understand that crowd investing is and will be needed for many years ahead. And you might ask me a question here. If high-speed transportation is now singled out into a separate project and the company has two ready-to-use commercial products and we have a 15-stage plan, then why would we need investment crowdfunding and why would investment crowdfunding develop? And we will have clarification coming from the founder of the technology because the 15-stage funding plan was a tentative plan of how things should have or could have gone if all the funds were raised in the necessary amount. But we saw ourselves what happened throughout those 11 years since the launch of the crowd investing. So this will be corrected. This will be adjusted, of course. The amount of investments will also be adjusted. The investments of funds necessary for the company to stay firm on its feet, to grow from a small horse into a strong stallion or a Mustang. That's how I put it. So to sum it up, this discussion that we've been having for 15 minutes now, how would I sum it up? It is important for us to understand that this birth just happened, and now there are a lot of external factors that might prevent this newly born child to get firmly on its feet, because we are in a very energy and resource intensive sector and corrupted sector, whereas the current players, they have a lot of money allocated for lobbying their interests in the government at the governmental level. Just see how the politics in the United States goes. In order to give a boost to the domestic car building sector, they are imposing a 25% extra tax on importation. So if people don't want to pay 25% extra for BMW or Mercedes made in Germany, they will be buying more Fords or even Tesla. And I'm quite negative about Tesla, honestly. I see no kind of positive aspects. Tesla is not really very comfortable. I sat there. You're sitting like on a wooden chair. But again, it's my personal opinion. If you enjoy riding Tesla or riding in Teslas, it's up to you. But again, this policy of protectionism or imposing taxes on imported cars aims to protect domestic producers of cars. And I saw the statistics of German car producers, including electric cars. They now outpaced the Tesla sales. And now there is this kind of economic war in this area, in the car manufacturing area. Again, this niche, this sector is very corrupted. And there is a very big power struggle going on. And you probably saw the video when the President of the United States declared the imposing of taxes, Elon Musk on the background was very happy because it means that there will be more sales of Tesla domestically and worldwide too. And why I'm giving you all these like facts, we need to understand that when the company now, after being born, goes to the market, it's still not standing firmly on its feet. Its position is still very brittle. We should not be wearing pink glasses here. You know what's particular about wearing a pink glasses? Because when you break pink glasses, the shards go inside and not outside, and you hurt your eyes. So let's be realistic. Yes, we've put a lot of efforts thanks to the investment crowdfunding. We helped the technology with our money to implement. Now the company is going commercial and doing its best in order to start selling its products regularly. And we fully understand that out of 10, 20 commercial projects, not all of them will even reach the construction stage, but out of those 10, 20 projects, the company will already receive money for the design and engineering work, because that's what goes before construction. And this will be enough to generate profits to share with us as investors, as declared in the declaration of dividends. However, another important factor is that once the company stands firmly on its feet, once the company will start receiving regular orders not only for design and engineering, but also for construction, that's when payments will be hefty and regular, frequent. When the company is involved in the construction, that's when the company will have extra revenues coming from the production of rolling stock, from the maintenance of those projects, from the royalties under the license agreement for using the technology, and other sources of income that will solidify and make that young horse halt stronger and make it faster. And for the engineering school designed to improve what has already been created needs investment crowdfunding. And if we go back to the Micron Global, dear friends, I'm 101% sure and can guarantee you that we will have still a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of business to do. Because in addition to raising funds for the technology and for the UST group of companies through GTI, we will come to a point when we will be able to fully participate in targeted commercial projects. And for that to happen, several things need to happen. And this is my personal opinion. I'd like to emphasize, this is my hypothesis. This is my opinion. For me, it's not even a hypothesis. I think it's quite realistic that it's going to happen. But for that to happen, several conditions need to be met using investment crowdfunding, how we can implement it. So this is what needs to happen. Condition 1, we need to see partial capitalization of our investments once the company will start generating regular revenues and paying remuneration. For us as investors, it will be a sign that we made the right choice and the company is delivering on its obligations, which will serve as additional motivation for us. This is A. B. For other people who are just observers right now, it will also be an additional positive image-making factor regarding what the UST group of companies is doing and the investment crowdfunding is doing. For there, it will be also a positive message. And 3, there should be a commercial project that will be economically feasible, it will be profit-making, and with a very quick payback period, short payback period. I'm talking about projects using investment crowdfunding. So this project should be economically feasible with a short payback period. It can be either a urban transportation project with a huge passenger capacity with a short payback period, or it could be a cargo plus passenger or purely cargo transportation project with high returns and quick payback period. Also, this project should have the guarantee from the local authorities or decision makers, making sure that all the permits have been granted and no artificial walls will be raised at a certain point, so that this project would not turn into a long-time project or unfinished construction, because that sometimes happens as well. So this is already condition 4 or 5. Well, let's say the 5th condition is that we need to have enough people who would, for example, invest $1,000 each, and we would be able to raise $50 or $70 million in 3 or 4 years of such a project. Well, basically, this is how much time you need to implement a small to medium project. Why 3 to 4 years? Because 6 months is for design. In parallel, you are receiving all the permits, land allocation, then a year or 2 the construction, and then the suppliers of raw materials, and then the production of rolling stock, and then startup and commissioning, then testing in the field. Well, basically, it's part of the startup and commissioning, then bringing into operation, certification according to the local laws, and that's it. The project is up and running. But objectively, it's from 2 to 4 years, even 2 years. I don't think it's long enough. Well, in some cases, yes, you could implement a transportation project in 2 years, but then all the stars needs to align for that, like funding, permits, no interruptions in supply of components. Contractors should never let you down. But objectively, a transportation project takes 2 to 5 years to implement. So the investment crowdfunding is applicable to raise funds for specific commercial targeted projects, and it's going to happen. And for that, dear friends, we need to create a fully operational, active, and actively developing community of people across lots of countries. And this is the ultimate goal behind our rebranding, behind creating an updated platform, creating for you an instrument in the form of a new compensation plan so that you could lay the foundation for building your career, business process, and the possibility to earn decent or indecent money if you want to. Because if you take a look and explore the compensation plan that we offer, you could make very, very good check every month if you take the right steps in terms of the promotion of this project by building your career. And look, friends, right now, another important, very important issue that I would like to raise, to promote the string transportation technology today is way easier than it used to be 3, 5, 7, even 10 years ago. Why easier? Because today we don't have to prove anything to anyone in terms of the viability of the technology. Take any news over the last 2 or 3 months and see what kind of delegations come and visit the R&D center, and what kind of contracts and agreements and memoranda of understanding UST company has with other partners. We're talking about big players in the market. in the Middle East. In Belarus, we're talking about the institutes, research institutes the company works with. The company has the R&D institute status too, which is a very big reward, very big merit. Usually, such status is given to a governmental, state-owned institute, whereas here it's a privately owned entity, and it's a very good foundation. In the United Arab Emirates, the company cooperates with the Ministry of Transportation. The company cooperates with an American university in Sharjah. The company works with various marketing companies. The company works with various auditing companies, world-renowned auditing companies. Right now, we already have things that we should be proud of and not be ashamed of. Right now, to be an investor into the string transportation technology is very prestigious. It deserves respect and to be proud of. And we're not just approaching people with blueprints and 3D renders. No, we already have like actually implemented commercial projects. They're not big, but they are certified, they are operational, they are carrying around people. So this is a real life proof, and it is not very far off the time when there will be a second, a third, a fourth project. And going back to my metaphor with the birth of a young horse, a horse colt, for now, our baby is not entirely confident in its legs, and we should not leave that young horse unattended and hope it will get stronger and quicker on its own. We should help it. And I'm not talking about personal investments, although you, of course, can increase your portfolio and make additional investments. But your main contribution would be to spread the word, to promote, to actively engage in the new compensation plan and generate new sales, and therefore generate your own income and raise funds to improve what the company already has. And it's very easy to make presentations today, considering what the company has achieved so far. And people who are coming into the technology as investors, they have better and more advantages compared to us. Well, there are one disadvantage, but the advantages way exceed their risks. They have way fewer risks compared to us. And I'm 100% sure of one thing: investors who will be investing starting 2025, who will be new investors, will have to wait way less time until the capitalization time moment. They won't have to wait for 11 years. Believe you me, in the near future, we will see the first financial results shown by the UST company, because the company already declared they are developing a financial legal framework for payment of remuneration, which means they have a vision when and how much they will be able to share in terms of profits. And let me tell you right away that you shouldn't be expecting that remuneration to be very high. I am more than sure it will be very modest, because the profits that the company will be making at first will not be very big, and we shouldn't expect it to be big, because the company doesn't have $1 billion project to be able to generate hundreds of millions of dollars for engineering works. It's going to be more like a symbolical gesture on the GTI companies when they start paying out dividends or remuneration, but don't expect it to be very big payouts. Really, don't think about it. But what matters is that they will eventually start doing that, and then gradually, of course, the numbers will increase. Today, I kind of discussed with you basic philosophical things, right? And any business, any beginning relies on a conceptual philosophical concept. idea. And I just wanted to show you what we have already, thanks to which it has been achieved and at what stage they are at and why they still need our assistance. And that's why I used all those metaphors and examples. And I tried to give you the explanation why we're doing the rebranding, to show you that it's a correct strategical move, giving the prospects of development in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And during our next meeting, we're going to talk about the prospects of the development of the Micron Global platform on different markets. We're going to talk about all the novelties to be introduced in the platform. We're going to talk about very specific things. Probably some of you might think, again, that I'm beating around the bush or like engaging in empty talk. You don't have to attend if you're not interested, really. If you're not interested in that platform, probably you do not belong to our tribe, and this is not something that you would like to do, or probably you don't want to do it with us. So I understand, and I will have no hard feelings here. What we need right now is to build or put up together a team of true believers, of people who see the future of the vision of Dr. Initsky, who see the future of crowd investing, and who understand that this is the business model or funding model that can allow you not only to build a very good business, but also which can serve as a good source of very decent income, and which will give you some assurance of the future. Because if you start laying the foundation, if you start putting into it enough efforts and your time and do it correctly, and we will have a training to make sure that you do everything correctly, then believe me, friends, in half a year, in year and a half, you will be making very good checks, earning very good checks, and you shouldn't be ashamed of it. It's a totally working business model. And this is it from me. I still have time to answer some of your questions, but within the topic of today's meeting, okay? Because technicalities and technical details will be discussed during other meetings. So where you can find things in your back office, etc., etc. So please ask your questions if they relate to today's meeting. Let's not go into details or technical details, okay? Okay, let's start from the beginning. I saw a comment somewhere in the beginning. The company needs our help. We've already did 80-90% to make sure that the world knows about us. Okay, good. We were optimists in 2014, Galina says. Look, I'm still an optimist, Galina. I'm not, to better put it, I'm not an optimist. I'm a person who is using a realistic look while being optimistic, who is being realistic while preserving the optimism. Because there is a difference between illusions and rationality. When people start building castles on sand, or engaging in pipe dreaming, pipe dreaming, then when the reality hits, they are disillusioned and disappointed. And it's your problem if you are building your expectations on illusions, because I never had this problem. I was also optimistic about the development of the technology, but I also accounted for the realities of the world, and that's what I'm still doing. And even if we go back to the high-speed transportation, so I think it's fair, it's the optimistically correct move from the company, and a completely fair decision, both in terms of business and in terms of marketing and in terms of the strategy, to make sure that the company capitalizes everything they have and to be able to create in a relatively short period of time to achieve the goal that they have. Ruslan gave me a good idea and asked me to share my experience. Okay, when I said that we were entering a huge transportation niche where there is a lot of bias, a lot of corruption, a lot of bureaucracy, red tape, permissions and permits. So I have very good experience in the area, personal experience, and I acquired that experience together with Dr. Initsky because I was directly involved in some of the projects in the process. I was involved in the negotiation process regarding the commercial projects. I was involved in the negotiations with big investors for the project worth $250 million. We had a negotiation with a big billionaire who've been considering the strategic partnership with Dr. Initsky for 2 years. For certain reasons, this transaction didn't fall through. Well, not even due to objective reasons, better subjective reasons or external factors that prevent it from implementing this transaction. However, the project, the high-speed transportation project, remember, Dr. Initsky mentioned in his speech that originally he wanted to implement it in the Western Europe. And back then, I was involved directly in the process. I participated in the implementation of it. It was one of the most innovative countries in the world, this European country. And it's been 2 years that we've been working, and we already approached the land allocation discussions. We've already were about to establish a company, and then a war broke out in Ukraine, Eastern Europe, which prevented the project from coming through. But to reach the point of land allocation and to make the first agreements, 2 years have passed. And every country has its own bureaucracy. Every country has its own decision-making process and procedure. And it's not easy. It's not quick and quite complex. And I know how things are because I can see it from inside how it's happening. And if some people say it's easy, like why they built this project and we were never involved and never participated in the bidding procedure, well, probably, colleagues, you do not fully understand what kind of niche or sector we are in, and it seems so easy to you. Next comment. We need to remain optimists no matter how difficult it is. With American cars, it's a bad example, Igor says. Airlines are all transnational. Auto companies, car making companies are all transnational because even Ford will face plus 25% tax. And Elon Musk's cars are basically Chinese. Well, look, we're talking about headquarters and where the parent company is located, right? And my example was not about like the cars itself, but about the competition and corruption in the sector. That's why I brought it up. I'm not talking about where plants and headquarters are located, but you don't have to be an expert or like a seasoned specialist in order to make a simple conclusion how this niche is dependent on the political will and political decision and lobbying from a certain group of businessmen and companies. So, and if you think that my example was not a good one, okay, but my message was just to show this aspect of transportation sector being a biased and corrupted sector. When I will promote this project among my potential clients, I will add what you said today. Let's see how it works. I very much want this project to prosper and give fruit. Believe me, all investors want it to be implemented, and administration in the United States changes every 4 years. I agree. I also want this project to prosper. There is a grain of rationality in your words, and many people do not understand it. And you wrote it, and I would like to focus on it. And I will also focus on it during one of my meetings in April, but I will mention it today as well. You said that in the United States, administration changes every 4 years, and hopefully it will not be a problem and an excuse to reject the project or to fold it. But there is no guarantee that the project will come through in the United States. Indeed, administration changes. But if because of the external factors, we're not able to implement something, again, due to geopolitical circumstances, it's not an excuse, it's an objective reason. If Dr. Nitsky was promised a piece of land and then they demanded money, big money for it, and they put forward terms and conditions Dr. Nitsky wasn't ready to accept. Probably one day he will share it with us. And then people started blaming him, saying that Dr. Nitsky in 2018 said that in the United Arab Emirates, they gave him 800 hectares of land, but promising to give 800 hectares and giving 800 hectares of land are not the same thing. So Dr. Nitsky didn't lie. He said how it was, and they promised, and they failed to deliver on that promise. Everything changes, There is this saying that there is nothing more constant than changes, but the success of any company, of any business professional depends on their ability to adapt to changes and to what's happening. And Dr. Nitsky has this very good trait of being able to adapt to changes. And if he didn't have that in his character or his personality, he wouldn't be able to achieve what he achieved. He would have given up in 1970s when he was very much criticized and put down by the government and the scientific community. But he is able to adapt. But of course, the external factors might prevent from achieving your goals. There is no guarantee that it will come through. But we have to believe that the stars will align, and even if obstacles arise, Dr. Nitsky and his team will be able to overcome or find ways to overcome those obstacles. But if it happens, like if there are circumstances of insuperable force, then what can you do? In Belarus, they also promised Dr. Nitsky a piece of land, and they never gave it. There are a lot of haters out there, competitors, and just personal dislike from the part of a given high-ranking official. We are living in a real world, after all, right? Next. There are very few people who aim for the long run, and a lot of people need money here and now. But Gregory, we are not a project that promises money here and now. If a person wants money here and now, then there is a way to do that. Be an active participant of the partnership program. Build your network, make sales, make your money here and now. and you can you can compensate your investment and even make extra money on it. Next. Well, dear colleagues, I ask you to stop asking your questions because we have 5 more minutes left, and it's. Is it too early to ask when Micron Global will be launched officially? Natish is asking. We will announce 2 weeks before the launch. Technically, the website is ready. The only issue here is the synchronization of the database. So right now, the ball is not on the development team. The ball is now on the side of the RSW IT team. So on our side, I mean on the Micron Global development team, is everything ready. We just need to synchronize. We were ready to launch the website in November, December. But it's basic stuff. It's about security and safety of the database. We need to make sure everything is protected. But 2 weeks before the launch, everything will be announced. And that's why I'm doing these meetings in the wake of the launching of the website. Vladislav says, Maxim, we will be with you. See you in Telegram. We are launching starting in an hour, or give me another time. Well, Vladislav, just write me in private. Nadira says, yes, some investors are stupid and they want, of course, you're talking ironically, right? And they want to get their return in just 10 years. I understand you're being ironic, and we need to understand that we're not a quick return investment project. We were a venture project. And how can you receive a return when there was no product yet produced, only blueprints? And if you invested back then and expected to get your first returns in a couple of years, then probably you did not fully explore the project. You probably believed what you've been told by the person who invited you, and you shouldn't have, right? Gulnara says, you're giving very useful information. Thank you very much. Thank you. Olga says, in the book 100 questions, 100 answers, there is information about Skyway. Can we just rename the book and give it to the new investors? Well, that book has information about the advantages of the string transportation technology. And the commercial brand was Skyway, but we're not hiding that fact. Yes, you could use the facts in that book and telling them that this is the technical guideline. If you want, you can read it, but explain them that right now the technology is called UST. Back then it was called Skyway. Nothing is like dangerous about it. Dr. Nitsky is not deleting his monographs and scientific works from the website, or his scientific research work. So it's all there, of course. It was called Skyway back then. Now it's UST, and there is official statement about it. So don't worry. Svetlana says, Maxim, you are saying we're all investors and we're investing through crowd investing, and you very often call it crowdfunding. Although you said those two things are completely different, and you gave the example of the Oculus Rift. Well, crowdfunding is more like donations, right? When a person donates money without expecting anything in return. Usually it's charitable crowdfunding, right? But there's also another type of crowdfunding when a person is donating money in exchange of the product to be produced by the company, and they receive it either at cost or a discount. And there is an investment crowdfunding or crowd investing. Those two things are synonymous. Sometimes it can be called multi-level crowd investing, but I'm kind of chill about this title name because it's not quite objective. So what we're doing is crowdfunding, but if to be more specific technical about it, it's crowd investing, because in exchange for our investments, we give a stake in the company that we are investing in. This is why it's called investment crowdfunding or crowd investing, and not just crowdfunding. Someone says, we were at the very beginning when even the first kilometer hasn't been built, and we believed Dr. Initsky. Exactly. This is exactly my opinion as well. Gregory says, Maxim, I'm talking for myself. I'm 100% with you and with Dr. Initsky. Thank you, Gregory. Nadira says, we've invested into this well and we're drinking water from that well. And we have the right to express our opinion about the quality of the water that we're drinking from the well. So I understand your metaphor. Are you saying that the technology is not of high quality? It is of high quality. But as for the dividends, then it's a completely different matter. Please tell me, in Skyway, I was a consultant. Now, what status do I have now? Well, according to the new compensation plan, you will start your career. Let me put it this way. I will not. I will dedicate a specific meeting to that, okay? Because I don't want us to go too much into detail. I've made a note of it, and we will surely discuss this whole ranking and statuses, okay? Maxim, Dr. Initsky and Andrei Khavratov entered into a cooperation agreement. What happened with that agreement? Gold Jan is asking. Well, that agreement was cancelled back in 2019 in February. A piece of news was published that the cooperation agreement between Dr. Initsky and SWIG and other affiliated entities was terminated. If our team is united and aware, we're going to deal with all the corrupted and biased opponents. Okay. What if an investor, someone asks, wants to exit the project 10 years later? How to explain it? What they should do? Well, if they want to exit, they cannot sell their pre-IPO shares. If you take a look at the convertible loan agreement, there are certain terms and conditions that you can read to get your answer. Maxim says, please tell us about the tokens. What is the current state of affairs? As I said, tokens are the responsibility of a separate entity, separate company. Go to their website, write to the support if you want to make a reverse conversion using a simplified procedure, or you can write to our support and our guys will tell you what you need to do. What kind of algorithm you need to use to have the reverse conversion. If you want to convert it back into pre-IPO shares, you're welcome to do so. There is a procedure. You can do it on an individual basis by submitting a ticket to the support. Now, Ludmila says, thank you very much for very important information at the highest level. It's clear, convincing, understandable. Thank you for your words. Nadira says, thank you. Ling long and prosper, good health. Thank you. Maxim, what's going to happen with the pre-IPO shares in the Khavratov's company? Can we have them back? Well, I have a meeting dedicated to it. Probably 4 meetings ago, I answered your question. Let's not go back to that topic. You can write to our support, and our support team will help you with the Khavratov's company's pre-IPO shares. Again, dear colleagues, thank you very much for your feedback and for your attendance and time. We will have a more detailed meeting on Micron Global next Thursday. more technical details. And at that meeting, we will also discuss specific points regarding the registration, signing up of partners, transition, synchronization. All the technical details will be discussed there. We will also discuss the future trainings and verification, etc. Okay? So, dear colleagues, again, thank you very much for giving your time and your willingness and for your waiting for the new platform to be launched. I'm sure that by joining efforts, we will put together a completely new team consisting of experienced partners and investors who will take a conscientious approach to further promotion of crowd investing, for us to be able to successfully raise funds not only for the urban passenger and cargo string transportation, but also to raise funds for the high-speed transportation in the United States. And in parallel, we would move towards joining efforts as a huge global international community that stands firmly on its feet to be able to fund individual targeted commercial projects. I'm sure we are up to the task. I see that our audience, our community is becoming more aware and understanding the scale of what we're doing here. Thank you very much to each of you. And Yelena says again, thank you, Maxim, for the important information. All the best. Wish you health. See you very soon. Next meeting. Okay. Our time is up, and see you at the next meeting. I will tell you when we're going to have that meeting. On the 3rd of April, we will continue. All the questions that have been not answered will be answered during the next meeting. Okay, there is a question from Dmitry. When Unitsky is going to publish his video? Probably you've just joined us, because in the beginning I told you when the video will be published. He says not, I joined in the middle. Well, and I mentioned it in the beginning. Again, thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Thank you for your attention, for your interest, and for your persistence in our very not easy and very responsible business efforts. Bye-bye, everyone. See you on Thursday.